Family. Hope you've been having a great week. Got this off. Boop, boop. We'll make sure we got our life together. Okay, cool. Hope you've been having a fantastic week. It has been very interesting. I don't know about very interesting, but it's been pretty cool. There we go. All right, there we go. Let's make sure everything in order as it should be. You dig? Let's see. Some love going. All right, family. Welcome to another episode of Soul Swami Live. This is Thursday Night Book Club, which is a Liberty, which is a spinoff of our Tuesday night show. This is in an effort to help us reconnect the child in us by allowing someone to read to us, right? So we are continuing our book, Razorblade Tears by S.A.Cosby. Cosby, excuse me. Let me stop saying Crosby before Liberty lose her. Happy Friday Eve. Listen, man. I wonder how many. I need to check to see how many points you got. Which is crazy. Most of it seem like my Twitch views be after the show, not during the show. So I don't know. I think YouTube like that too. I didn't even tell you the food video, which is crazy. Liberty did numbers. But anyway, back to like I was saying, happy Friday Eve too. Generally, on Soul Swami, we're all about healing in various forms, whether it be through homework, prompt, general discussions, learning new information, even live energy readings, and this right here is a spinoff of that. So if you are in a space of you want to heal and you don't quite know where to go, or you're looking for a community that may just fit your vibe, check us out. Every Tuesday and Thursday, dedicatedly, only occasionally we skip a Tuesday and Thursday. That's when I'm out of town on holidays, something like that. But every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't catch the live show, then you can always watch the rewinds, the replays, watch the previous episode on whichever site you like. Well, Scratch. You can guarantee to catch it on YouTube. YouTube has every video that I've ever done. So, and generally at the beginning of every show, we do a little energy work with some sound bowl, and we discuss a different chakra. And this week, hold on. I don't know. So we were supposed to do it. I don't know. We'll talk about it. We were supposed to do it not a couple of days after that last time I was on her panel. And then life and stuff just happened. So it'll probably be, oh no, I was going to say this week, but I forgot today's Thursday. So it might be next week. I was lazy this Wednesday. We did that energy reading on Tuesday. So I spent Wednesday being lazy, and I was productive today because I finished most of that book. boop, boop. So within the next 2 weeks, something like that. And yeah, I'm curious to see how it's gonna go. I know for her, she's had reading before, she's had Reiki, she done had it all. Only thing she hadn't done was the spiritual journey, so she ain't took no trip yet. But that should be interesting. Oh God, listen, sometimes like long curly eyelashes be cool to look at, but them things be falling all in your eyes and it be driving me crazy sometimes. I like that. I was regrouping. So yeah. Um and I got a little focus back. It's a little yeah, we'll see how it go. But I got a lot of done with that book. So you see where I'm going with it. And this side note, so y'all don't know, I'm writing a book. If you're a part of it, you can go look on YouTube and you find the 7 Spaces of Healing. So the 7 Spaces of Healing is actually going to be a book. So I have been working on it, and today I was able to. Um, I had everything kind of in form. I had a table of contents and stuff like that, but I needed to do some chapter intros and some chapter outros. So I was able to do all that today and make sure the flow was together and a little bit of editing, and then I'm gonna have somebody else. And I'll send it to Liberty so she can proofread. I'll just see if she see where I'm going with it, and I still gotta straighten out my table of contents and my shout outs, and then the about me, how dope I am. I gotta tell everybody about that. So side note, we got sidetracked. Yo, I didn't see the review, so you might have to resend them both. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna work on it this weekend, and I think I'll go live this weekend too. Yeah. But anyway, generally, every show we do some energy work, and this week we are on our throat. The color for your throat is light blue. So if you're in light therapy, spend some time in some light blue light. And that's one of the reasons I got an RBG bulb. I try to get every color. I need black light, but black light is funny. Doo doo doo. If you are into essential, oh no, scratch. Your throat is the energy spot for your authenticity, your communication, how you express yourself, and your truths, your truths. If you are into essential oils, you want to think of chamomile, peppermint, cypress, bergamot is pretty good. And if you are into crystals and stones, you want to think turquoise. What's crazy? I lost my turquoise ring inside of here. I heard it found off the dresser and I ain't seen it since. Aquamarine is a good one. Lapis Lazuli. I like that one, so I think I'm gonna get that piece one day. And blue lace agate. I went one time to go get it. I was so focused on getting that lapis, and wound up buying that big thing instead. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna get this big citrine rock, which is nice. So, and after we do that, we generally do some sound therapy. So I'll do my sound bowl, and then from sound therapy, we do a little breath work. Liberty, what you feel like doing today? We did 478 Tuesday, I think. So we do some breathing exercise and some visualization. But I am not even gonna lie, I've been keeping the visualizations very simple lately. So it's all good. So right now we will start with sound bowl, our crystal bowl. And surprisingly, especially you, Libby. I don't have 369. It is. You said it correctly. And you know what? That's probably good. That's in honor of my homeboy. Ain't nothing wrong with him. Like he's still here. But he was able to speak in front of the church the other day. And I'm happy for him about that. And he is actually the one that taught me 369. So nah, I don't know where he got it from, but who cares? 369 will work. So just listen to the bowl and try to relax. Yo, I side note. Um, the other day, a friend came by. Well, I always do Reiki on them and stuff like that too. But we wound up, they knew they needed some work, so they came by. And not one of the first things, well, just randomly, they was like, hey, can you play that bowl? So I love it. It does work for some people. I appreciate that. Surprisingly, all we're going to do is the bowl today. And I thought about the rain stick, but yeah, I changed my mind. I changed my mind. All right, so if you are unfamiliar with 369 breathing exercise, that is, you take a deep breath and you hold it for 3 seconds, then release. You take another deep breath, hold it for 6 seconds, then release. And then you take a third deep breath, hold it for 9 seconds, then release. But for you, all you have to do is just focus in on your breathing. You want to think about your authenticity, your communication style. Think about where you've been and where you want to go focused on clearing your energy and listening to the sound of my voice. And I will keep track of the count for you. And while we are doing that, the element for your throat is ether. And while we are doing our breathing exercise, I want you to envision you having the power to shape your reality in the palm of your hands. And in that reality, I want you to make sure you focus on your throat and communication style. Like I said, where you like to go, where you've been, communication that you like, how you want to be apologized to. I want you to take some time and shape your truth. Separate yours from the many different truths that others have given you. Pick out what matters most to you and shape that into your reality. On the count of three, we'll start our breath work. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in deep. Hold for 3, 2, 3. Release. Breathe in deep. Hold for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Release. Breathe in deep. Hold for 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Release. Breathe in deep, family. Hold for 3, 2, 3. Release. Breathe in deep. Hold for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and release. Breathe in deep. Hold for 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and release. Last cycle, family. Breathe in deep. 2, 3. And hold for 3, 2, 3, and release. Breathe in deep. Hold for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and release. Breathe in deep. 2, 2. Hold for 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and release. Okay, so as you just finished your breathing and you're holding that ether in the palm of your hand, shaping your reality, I want you to repeat these affirmations after me and shape them into your reality. I speak and hear the truth. I communicate honestly. I live an authentic life. I am fearless and free. I trust what I have to say. I speak and hear truth. I communicate honestly. I live an authentic life. I am fearless and free. I trust what I have to say. So yeah, my voice might be a little calm right now. I appreciate that, Liberty. Um, I love that bowl because one, it's big and I get to hold it, and the vibrations will go through my body, so I get to experience it with you all. And then the 369 breathing exercise is one of the few that I can actually kind of do with you all. So generally, when we do 369, I try to do the breath work with you. The other ones are a little bit harder because the count and trying to keep everything else in order. So it does work a little bit for me. But or maybe I'm using my sexy voice right now. How about that? You know, that comes on occasionally. You know, Kat tried to roast me the other day. And then I ain't even gonna lie. I took a nap before the show, so I'm still calm. I cooked, made some chili today. I've been thinking about chili for a minute, so I made some. Doo doo doo. And you know, everything over here be from scratch. I make Kool-Aid for my family. Da 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 da. So where are we at in the book? I think, not I think, they just went to their son's house. I can, excuse me, Buddy Lee, and the biker gang, two other biker gang dudes showed up. So it was a little squabble. Buddy Lee was biting. I came to the rescue, and yeah, is that it? Yep, that's what just happened. So we are on chapter 14. Andy's eyelids fluttered. He had promised to make them bleed for the breed. The tables, however, had been turned. He was bleeding, and it didn't seem like he was going to be allowed to stop anytime soon. He tried to raise his head, but it felt like it was full of bricks. Buddy Lee slapped the kid as hard as he could. He followed that up with a 1-2 combo to the ribs. He took a step back and leaned forward with his hands on his knees. A glob of sputum worked its way out of his lungs. He closed his mouth and walked over to the trash near the second-hand roll-up door in Ike's warehouse. What? He spit into the small brown basket. He didn't have to look at it to know it would have more of a faint red spots mixed in it. You all right? Ike asked. Yeah, just out of fucking shape. Why don't you ask him? Buddy Lee said. He walked over to a pallet of mulch and sat down on top of it. Ike went to the cubicle office and got his roller chair. He placed it right in front of the kid. Then he went to the tool rack. He came back with a tamper. It was a tool they used to even out the dirt when they planted a large tree or ran some sprinkler lines. A 4-foot long wooden handle with a flat back black iron square at one end. It was a fairly simple piece of equipment. He placed the tamper between him and the kid before taking a seat in the roller chair. The kid was in a wooden office chair. Ike had zip tied his wrist to his arms of the table. Once Buddy Lee had cleaned himself up, they had grabbed an area rug from Isaiah's office and rolled the kid up inside. The decision to take the kid wasn't something they had discussed. There was no need. It was obvious the kid and the big guy was somehow involved in what happened to the boys. The kid was about 100 pounds lighter than his partner. In this case, his partner had drawn the short straw, genetically speaking. So they left the big guy sprawled across the hallway floor and carried the skinny kid out the townhouse like a pair of late night movers. They passed a few people as they walked to the truck. Most of them didn't look up from their cell phones long enough to notice two men carrying a vaguely human-shaped rug down the sidewalk. If any of Isaiah's or Derek's neighbors had heard the ruckus, they didn't feel it was necessary to get involved. Apparently, the neighborhood wasn't that gentrified yet. That's funny. Ike put his fingers under the kid's chin. He raised his head until they were eye to eye. What's your name? You ain't got no license on you. That was smart, Ike said. Buddy Lee was shocked at how gentle his voice sounded. It was like Ike was about to tell the boy a bedtime story. Fuck you, Andy mumbled. Ike pulled his finger away. The boy's head dropped into his chest. Blood dripped from his mouth and his nose. The wound on his cheek was weeping like a broken-hearted bride. Ike placed his hands at the end of the tamper handle, then placed his chin on the top of his hands. You smart. And you got heart, I'll give you that. But you got to know this ain't gonna end good for you, right? I mean, you broke into the house belonging to our sons. You tried to kill my man over there. You know what that tells me? You either killed our sons or you know who did, Ike said. Andy didn't strain against the zip ties. He used every ounce of his waning strength to raise his head. Who sent you to that house, Ike asked. Andy spit in Ike's face. His head dropped down to his chest. The spittle landed on Ike's chin. He stood. He wiped his chin, then wiped his hands on his pants. Help me take off my boots, Ike said. Buddy Lee grabbed the kid's left foot, and Ike grabbed the right. They pulled off his boots and tossed them next to the pallet. Ike grabbed the tamper. He moved behind Andy. He raised the tamper until the flat square head was parallel with his belt buckle. He brought it down with all his strength. The metal striking against the concrete floor created a sound inside of like a cavernous warehouse. Ike took the position near Andy's left arm. He slammed the tamper down again. Both Andy and Buddy Lee flinched. Ike moved around Andy like the hands of a clock each time, slammed the tamper down and sending a harsh report throughout the building. Who sent you, boy? Ike finally said. Andy flexed his wrist. The zip tie on his left hand was immovable. The one on his right, however, had the tiniest bit of play. The black guy had looped it through the spindle, then around the armrest, then around his waist. The spindle was loose. If he put his back into it, he could probably break it. Then he could use the chair as a weapon and make a run for it. None of that would happen if this motherfucker smashed his toes. A guy sent us. He was looking for info on a girl, Andy said. Ike stopped moving. What guy? Buddy Lee asked. I don't know. I don't know his name. He just told us he was looking for a girl that was supposed to be talking to a reporter. He wanted to get info on where she might be, Andy said. He took a deep breath, sending an ache through his chest that made him wince. Ike bent forward. His face was barely an inch from Andy's. You lying to me? Ike asked. No, I swear. What was the girl's name? Ike asked. Andy sighed. Tangerine. Buddy pulled out a piece of paper. He stared at the drawing, then at the kid in the chair. I'll be damned, he said. Ike straightened. He went over to where Buddy Lee was leaning against the pallet of mulch. He left the tamper near Andy. What is it? Buddy Lee showed him a piece of paper. I took this off the fridge at the boys' place. I thought it was an orange, but I suppose it could be a tangerine. But I don't know what that building is, Buddy Lee said. Ike thought of the napkins he'd found in the house. You think it could be a bar? Maybe Isaiah was going to meet Tangerine Girl at a place they all hung out at a lot, Ike asked. Buddy Lee pushed off the pallet and turned his back to the kid. He dropped his voice to the bottom of his chest. What if she was supposed to meet them and then they got killed? Whoever killed them might be the one who hired Junior over here, Buddy Lee said. He might be the one kid at the bakery was talking about, Ike whispered. That's what I was thinking. We should lean on him some more. I bet if I smash one of his toes, he'll remember who hired him. Andy watched them as they turned their backs on him and huddled close. What if you don't give it up, Buddy Lee asked. They always give it up, Ike said. Andy raised his head. It was now or never. He strained against the zip tie. He relaxed, then strained again, this time twisting his upper body and pulling his right arm toward the left. Ike heard a snap a millisecond before he turned and took the chair to the head. The kid was swinging it like a club. His left wrist was still attached to the armrest. His bare feet hadn't made a sound. Jesus Christ. All these notifications just going ham sandwich. I apologize. His left wrist was still attached to the armrest. His bare feet hadn't made a sound on the cool concrete floor. Ike took the full brunt of his swing to the left side of his head. He went down on all fours, like he was searching for a grain of gold dust. Andy shoved the chair at the thin white guy. The guy instinctively grabbed the chair legs, and Andy pushed him back towards the pallet of mulch. Buddy felt his feet slip on the concrete even as he gripped the chair by his legs. His chest rattled and his lungs begged for air. Was he passing out? He wasn't sure, but the next thing he knew, his ass was on the floor and his hands seemed to go numb. A coughing fit picked the absolute worst time to possess him. The kid pulled the chair out of Buddy Lee's hands and raised it above his head. The shadow the chair cast over him was a shadow of death. Buddy Lee felt a desperate surge of adrenaline course through his veins. A huge wad of phlegm escaped his chest at last. Sweet oxygen filled his lungs like ambrosia. Buddy Lee grabbed his jackknife from his back pocket. As the kid swung the chair downward, Buddy Lee rose to one knee. In a smooth motion, he flicked that blade out with his thumb and shoved the knife into the kid's belly, up to the hilt. The hole in his belly took some of the power out of his swing. Buddy Lee raised his free arm and blocked the blow rather easily. He watched as the kid stumbled backwards. He pulled himself off Buddy Lee's blade. The languid stream of crimson began to pour from the hole in Andy's gut. Ike shook his head side to side like a hound dog killing a rat. He jumped to his feet and grabbed the tamper. As the kid stumbled back from Buddy Lee, Ike gripped the handle with a two-handed high choke grip. He swung the tamper like he was sending it a pitch into the upper deck. The flat-tempered iron connected with the back of the kid's head with a dull, fleshy thump. The kid crumpled to the floor, with the chair landing on his chest. Ike stood over the kid. His thin lips were quivering like death throes of some strange woodland creature. The kid had hit him with the chair. He tried to kill Buddy Lee. He'd broken into Isaiah's house. He spit in Ike's face. He'd probably been lying about the guy hiring him. He probably knew who killed Isaiah. The kid's eyes rolled back in his head. Hell, he might have been the one who wrecked the headstone. "You motherfucker," Ike screamed. He raised the tamper and slammed it down onto the kid's head. The skin around the eye socket split and the bones beneath shifted. The kid looked like he was having a stroke. Ike raised the tamper again and brought it down with all his strength. His biceps and deltoids worked together with long practiced synchronicity. He'd done this same motion 1,000 times, hundreds of thousands of times. His wide forearms burned as he rammed the tamper into the kid's face again and again. He felt something wet splash against his face. Bits of bone and teeth flew up from the floor. "You killed them, didn't you? Motherfucker," Ike howled. Buddy Lee stood and leaned his back against the pallet. His lungs were on fire. The tamper moved up and down relentlessly. It sounded like Ike was leveling out a mud-filled hole. "Ike," Buddy Lee said. The large man's arm continued to move the tamper like a piston. "Ike," Buddy yelled. Ike froze. The head of the tamper was parallel to his chest. It was stained red like a painter's brush. Ike stared at the garden tool like he had never seen it before. A guttural groan escaped from his lips as he tossed it aside. It clanged as it skidded across the floor. It left behind narrow red streaks. Ike dropped to his haunches, then to his ass. Buddy Lee skirted around the kid's body and the rapidly expanding pool of blood that was quickly surrounding it. He eased himself down on the floor next to Ike. Guess we leaned on him too hard, Buddy Lee said. I I don't think he could get I ain't think he could get loose, Ike said. Well, what do we do now? Buddy Lee asked. Ike wiped his face with his shirt. When he looked down, he saw dark splotches. He let out a long, deep breath. I got a wood chipper, a bucket loader, and 2-ton pile of manure out back, Ike said. I think that'll work. He was a real piece of shit, Buddy Lee said. He tried to make the statement a joke, but neither one of them laughed. Chapter 15. Dome, okay, was 5 seconds away from busting a nut in the mouth of the brunette that had been crashing at the clubhouse since Saturday when he heard the sound of metal smashing against the metal. Reflexively, he grabbed his 44 off the nightstand and popped his nut all in one movement. He pushed the girl's head away and pulled up his pants with one hand. The girl slid off the bed and hit the floor with all of her considerable ass. Okay. What the fuck, she said. Shut up, Dome said. He took 2 steps at a time as he flew down the stairs. Gremlin was already up and pointing a sawed-off shotgun at the door. Too Much pushed aside the palm brown curtain at the front window and peered outside. They called him Too Much because all the girls said he had too much dick for a guy who was just a frog's hair over 5 feet tall. That's crazy. It's Andy's grocery getter, Too Much said. His long brown hair fell in his face, and he pushed it aside with the back of his hand. He had a 38 in his right. Dome opened the door and stepped out onto the porch. Andy's money green LTD was parked on top of the keeper's bike. Keeper was in the garage working on a tap for cheddar. He either didn't hear the commotion or didn't care enough to stop working on Cheddar's back piece. The parking lights on the LTD were still on, but the headlights were black pits like the eye sockets of a skull. The car's big block 405 engine was idling rough. It was like a rolling tank was trying to clear his throat. Dome let his 44 fall to his side as he stepped down onto the first step. The driver's door flew open and rocked back and forth a few times. Dome pulled his gun and aimed at the driver's side. As soon as he did, he felt foolish. If somebody was planning on spraying them up, they wouldn't have just parked there. Crashing in the keeper's bike was a shitty thing to do, but it wasn't the action of an assassin. Most likely, Andy and Oscar had gotten lit instead of tossing the house. Grayson would be pissed. Almost as if thinking his name had summoned him, Oscar emerged from the car. Holy shit, Dome muttered. The big man's face was covered with so much blood, Dome was surprised he hadn't bled to death. It was like he was wearing a mask made from his own plasma. Oscar took 3 halting steps toward the house. Hey, Dome, the prospect mumbled. Then, like a marionette whose strings had been snipped, he fell face first into the gravel-covered ground. Dome rushed to his side. You guys come and give me a hand, Dome yelled. Gremlin and Too Much sailed off the porch. It took all 3 of them to get Oscar on his feet. They carried/dragged him into the clubhouse. They dropped him on the leather couch in front of the television. Gremlin got some water and whiskey from the kitchen. He handed both to Dome. Dome tossed the whole bottle of water on Oscar's head. His face seemed to melt like a candle as the blood was washed away by multiple rivulets. He blinked 4 or 5 times before his eyes focused on Dome. Dome put the bottle of whiskey to Oscar's lips and tilted his head back. Oscar coughed, wheezed, then coughed some more. He motioned for the bottle again, and Dome poured another shot down his throat. Oscar nodded his head and held up his hand, declining another drink. What the fuck happened to you, man? Too Much asked. Oscar put his huge paw on his forehead. You ain't gonna fucking believe it, he said. Once Oscar had recounted the entire evening, Dome called Grayson. The president answered on the second ring. This better be important, Grayson said. It is. Oscar's back. And, Grayson said, and Andy's not with him. Oscar's head is busted wide open, and he's covered in blood. His own blood, Dome said. A hollow silence bloomed on the phone line until Grayson spoke again. Did he see who hit him? Grayson said. His voice was deathly quiet. He didn't, but he said he and Andy got into it with an old dude that was in the house when they got there. He thinks the old dude was the father of one of the punks. He also said he saw a pickup truck parked near the house. Truck said Randolph Lawn Maintenance on the side, Dome said. Randolph, huh? Grayson said. Yeah, Dome said. Another few seconds of silence. I'll be over there in 20 minutes. Call a church meeting. We're going to take care of business and deal with fathers know best, Grayson said, and the line went dead. That's interesting. Chapter 16. Buddy Lee parked his truck right in front of the 7-Eleven. He cut off the engine and listened to the engine dieseling for a few minutes. Once the motor stopped coughing and sputtering, he got out and went to the store. The sun had just risen. A ragged patchwork of clouds hung low in the eastern sky like cotton candy. A robotic chime sounded as he walked through the door. Buddy Lee slipped down the center aisle, and he made a beeline for a cooler in the back. He plucked 2 tall boys from the rack and headed for the counter. He had considered just going cold turkey until they were done with whatever the hell they were calling this mission they were on, but that was just ridiculous. He hadn't done that since the last time he was in a joint. He couldn't go down that road again. That route led to shakes and vomiting and bugs in his head that no one else could see. He could cut back, but stopping altogether was likely as seeing a monkey driving a goddamn Cadillac. Buddy Lee put 2 cans of beer on the counter and waited for the clerk to turn around. The small brown man was stocking the cigarettes while whistling a tune that teased Buddy Lee with his familiarity. When the man finally emptied the carton he was working on, he turned and scanned Buddy Lee's beer. Buddy Lee, how are you, friend? You look a bit unrested. Well, good fucking morning to you, too. Hamad, Buddy Lee said. I mean no harm, Buddy Lee. I'm worried about you, my friend. You look like you have not slept a wink, Hamad said. You don't know the half of it, son, Buddy Lee said. After he stabbed the kid and Ike caved his head in like an overripe melon, they had stripped him naked and fired up Ike's wood chipper. Ike had positioned the discharge chute directly into the manure pile in the back of his warehouse. They used hand saws and machetes to break the kid down into manageable pieces. Once it was all done, they pressure washed the floor and the wood chipper. Buddy Lee had plopped down on the lime pallet and watched Ike mix up the manure pile with his economy-sized front-end loader. By the time they were done, it was 2 hours before sunrise. He supposed he should be shocked how fast his disposal skills resurfaced, but it was not really that much of a surprise. Chopping up your first body is disgusting. Your second is tiresome. When you're doing your 15th, it's all muscle memory. I know it's hard, Hamad said. Huh? After the passing of your son, I know things are hard, Hamad said. Yeah, I haven't slept much since Derek died, Buddy Lee said. He'd never get used to the way the words Derek and died felt in his mouth. Everything seemed hard when one you love dies, Hamad said, as he placed the beer in the brown paper bag. Buddy Lee said. He handed Hamad a 10 spot. You will get through this, Buddy Lee, Hamad said. I don't know if I want to get through it, Hamad. I feel like every minute I'm grieving, I'm letting my own boy down, Buddy Lee said. Every minute I'm not grieving, excuse me. Hamad handed Buddy Lee his change. He wouldn't want you to grieve forever, my friend, Hamad said. A man and a woman came to the store laughing in that way that told Buddy Lee that they were a couple, and a new one at that. Buddy Lee grabbed his bag. You sure about that? Buddy Lee said. The clouds had dispersed by the time he had gotten to the cemetery. The headstone shimmered in the unrelenting sunlight. The temperature rose steadily, like a bottle rocket. In another hour, it would be hotter than fresh cooked fried chicken. Buddy Lee walked among the tombstones with a steady gait. He only stopped to cough twice before he neared Derek's and Isaiah's grave. He came up around the red maple that overlooked the sun's final resting place and stopped short. Christine, he said. His heart leapt up out of his chest and slapped the back of his throat. She was standing at the foot of the graves. Her honey blonde hair brushed the collar of her blue blazer. Those long legs he loved were wrapped in a sensible blue skirt that matched her blazer. Deep-set eyes, the color of sapphire, stared out at him from a heart-shaped face. How many times have you gazed into those eyes, seen them change colors like a mood ring, darken with passion, or sparkle with desire, or glow blue hot with rage? She had some work done, mostly around her eyes and her mouth. He ain't blame her. Why not? From what he heard, her husband could afford it. The surgeon had only shored up what the Almighty had given her. Christine Perkins Jenkins Culpepper was as beautiful a woman as he had ever held in his arms. A few Dr. Crow's feet couldn't change that, no matter how much Christine would have liked to pretend that her 8-year marriage had never happened. Where's the headstone? The other family said. They had a headstone, Christine said. It got damaged. What are you doing here? How do you even know where they were buried? Buddy Lee asked. Christine pushed an errant blonde lock out of her eyes. It was in the paper. I got you, Buddy Lee said. What happened to the stone? Buddy Lee cracked open one of the cans of beer and took a long swig. Somebody hit it with a sledgehammer and wrote a bunch of fucking nasty shit about gay people all over it, he said. A sharp intake breath from Christine sent a whistle echoing through the graveyard. That's unfortunate. Even though I didn't agree with Derek's lifestyle, there was no need for someone to perpetrate such vile acts of vandalism on his tombstone, Christine said. Buddy Lee took a step towards her, and she took a step back. She glanced down and realized she was standing on either Derek's or Isaiah's grave and stepped toward the right. Is that why you don't come to that why you didn't come to the funeral? Because you didn't agree with his lifestyle? Or was it because Gerald Culpepper didn't let you? Buddy Lee asked. Christine rubbed her nose and ran her hand through her hair. You wouldn't understand. A man in Gerald's position can't see coddling a stepson who engages in perverse activities. Oh, I understand. I understand that you kicked your son out your house right before the judge ran for Richmond City Council the first time. I understand our son was living on the streets, bouncing from house to house because you cared more about being the wife of some stuck-up, rich first family of Virginia asshole than being a mother to your child, Buddy Lee said. He felt the color rise in his face, tremors moving through his body like high tides coming into shore. Don't you stand there and get sanctimonious with me, William Lee Jenkins. You think you were father of the year? Our son dedicated himself to being to an immoral lifestyle, a an aberrant sacrilegious life that neither my husband nor I could abide in our own home. Yes, I made him leave, but I never punched him in the face. I never slapped him to the ground. If you were so concerned about him, why didn't you take him in? Oh, that's right. You were behind bars drinking toilet wine, Christine spat at him. Buddy took another sip of his beer. Those fancy etiquette classes Culpepper had you take was good. But your accent slipping. I can hear Red Hill County all up in your voice when you get mad. You ain't that far from the backseat of my Camaro after all, he said. I will not let you take my peace. Peace is the absence of conflicts. It is not true. It is not true. You're not at peace. That's why you standing on that grave. Lying. I will not let you take my peace. I will not let you take my peace, Christine muttered. Budley thought she was talking to herself, not him. She glared straight ahead as she clenched her fist, digging her manicured nails into the palms of her hand. Budley studied her eyes again. She had some work done, but there was something else there. A maniac look he recognized from many backwood trailer parties. Christine, are you high? Buddy asked. His question snapped her out of her affirmation. What? Are you high? Because your pupils are about as wide as the bottom of this can, Buddy said. I have a prescription. Christine said, I'm sure you do. I bet you got a shit ton of them. I'm not going to stand here and be lectured by some white trash redneck ex-con, Christine said. She stomped her red bottom heels past him. He caught a whiff of her as she passed. Not her expensive perfume, but her. The fresh scrubbed sweet scent of her. In an instant, he was back in the aforementioned Camaro, his mouth against her neck, his nostrils full of the same raw, fresh scent. This exchange was a microcosm of one half of their past relationship. They'd hit each other with one verbal haymaker after another, searching for the soft and secret place to make the deepest cut in a way that only someone who has shared your bed more than once can effectively. There would be no replay of the remaining half of their past relationship. Budley sipped his beer. That part was always the fun part. We was both shit parents, but at least I showed up to watch him go on the ground. You coming here now is more than a day late and way more than $1 short, Buddy Lee yelled. You heard her stop in her tracks. Fuck you, Buddy Lee, she said without turning around. So much for peace, he mumbled. See, because you can't have peace unless you have the tools to navigate conflict. Because that's what peace is. You dig? He waited until Christine was out of earshot. He walked up to the graves and knelt on one knee. He opened the other can of beer and poured the entire contents over Derek's grave. No offense, Isaiah, but I didn't know what kind of beer you like. Derek was a Pabst man at one time. I gave him his first one when he was 15. This was before I went down for my last visit to the Gray Bar Hotel. I thought it would make a man out of him. Stupid. I know that now, Buddy Lee said. My homeboy Don was a Pabst. He loved Pabst, and I don't get that. Pabst was terrible. His own beer before crushing the can. I just wanted to tell you that me and Ike, we did something. We got one of them. I know it's not what you would want me to do. I think I'm finally starting to understand you could never be the kind of man I am, and I couldn't be the kind of man you are, he said. He crushed Derek's can and put both cans back in the brown paper bag. I knew if you was here, you'd tell me to let it go, that it isn't worth it. Then I'd have to steal one of your lines, Buddy Lee said. He rose to his feet, brushed the dirt from his jeans. His eyes burned, but he was too tired to cry. This is who I am. I can't change. I don't want to really, but for once, I'm going to put this devil inside of me to good use. I know that's right. Hello. Chapter 17. We'll finish this chapter, and then I know that's going to take at least 4 minutes, and we'll wrap it up. Ike opened his eyes. His lower back felt like it was filled with spun glass. He rose from his office chair and listened to his kneecaps pop like rifle shots. His watch said it was a little after 8. He checked his phone. Maya had called a few times. She'd also sent him 2 terse texts. Both asked where he was and when he was coming home. The first one was longer than the second. The guys would be rolling in a few minutes. Jazzy would be late as usual. They had 7 jobs today from Queen County all the way to Williamsburg. Ike walked around his desk to the spot where he killed the kid. A pressure washer and some bleach had cleaned up the blood nicely. He hadn't killed anyone in 16 years. He hadn't had to fight in 11. 11 years of walking the straight and narrow, gone to shit in a matter of minutes. The two of them had slaughtered that kid like a pig and fed him to the wood chipper like a mama bird feeding a chick. The two of them. 11 years. 1 plus 1 was 2. When he was inside, he had read a book that said some numbers had mystical significance in religions. Not for the first time, he considered all the weird knowledge you could acquire when there was nothing to do but lift, read, and fight. Ike went out to the back lot of the warehouse. He grabbed the water hose and attached it to the hose reel near the back door and pulled it over to a smoldering barrel near the corner of the building. He soaked the ashes in the barrel until it stopped smoking. The kid's jeans and shirt had gone up like kindling. It had taken his boots a little bit longer to burn down to barely recognizable lumps. He sprayed some water in his hand and splashed it on his face. He'd given Buddy Lee a big, tough speech about spilling blood, but he hadn't expected it to happen this suddenly. This was the first thing about violence. When you went looking for it, you definitely were going to find it. It just wouldn't be at a time of your own choosing. He jumped up and splattered. It jumped up and splattered your nice new boots before you were really ready. The thing is, if you chase it long enough, you realize you were never really ready for it. Shit happens and you either roll with it or you don't. Eventually you got used to it. When he was a kid, he liked to think that made you hard. He'd hit the barrel with that hose again. After a few years inside, he figured out that it was bullshit. Human beings were wired to get used to just about anything. That didn't make it hard. It made you indoctrinated. I know that's right. Ike pulled the hose over to the wood chipper. They aimed it at the manure pile as they dropped pieces of the kid into the inlet chute. Then Ike had gotten on the bulldozer and turned the manure over again and again. By the time the sun was coming up, the kid was just fertilizer. He dropped the hose and went back inside the shop and grabbed the bleach. He went to the back of the chipper and poured the bleach in the inlet chute. Then he grabbed the hose and flushed water through the chipper and out the discharge chute. A chipper was a practical way to chop a body up, but it was a terrible way to get rid of evidence. Despite rinsing it out, the Clorox was still covered in DNA, and that wasn't visible to the naked eye. Bits of bone and hair were probably embedded in the gears and teeth inside the machine. The only thing he could do now was take it to the dump and toss it onto the ever-growing pile of rusted-out refrigerators, washing machines, and lawnmowers at the rear of the landfill. $1,000 piece of equipment reduced to scrap. He couldn't even take it to the salvage yard and get some of his money back. Ike finished with his cleanup job and rolled the chipper around to the side of the building. He'd got one of his guys to help him load it in the truck. He'd given him some story about conking out on him and then casually never mentioned it again. He was a little disconcerted how easily he was able to slip back into Riot's habit of lying without compunction, but only a little. He went back inside the shop and was making his way to the front door to unlock when Jazzy came in 30 minutes early. Ike stopped and put his hands on his hip. He'd given her a key over a year ago, but she never arrived early enough to use it. This must be the end of times because you're actually here early, he said. Jazzy rolled her eyes. Mark's car broke down, so I had to take him to work at the window plant. It's right up the road from here. I ain't seen no point in going home after I dropped him off, so here I am. I thought you'd be happy I was here all early and shit, Jazzy said. I am. I'm just recovering from the shop, Ike said. Jazzy rolled her eyes again and headed for her desk. Ike was about to follow her when he heard a thunderous roar come from the road. He stopped turned, and looked out the door. A line of motorcycles about 5 or 6 deep were flying past the shop. They sounded like a pride of lions on the hunt. I know that's right. 802, I'm lying. We'll read one more chapter. That seems short. Yeah. This next one's short too, so we'll knock that out. Chapter 18. Buddy Lee parked his truck and slid out to unsteady legs. He closed the door and stumbled towards his trailer. He'd left the cemetery and headed to the nearest bar, a quiet little neighborhood spot called McAllen's. He started with a beer, then moved to whiskey, and finished with bourbon. Sleep. He needed sleep this hour before Ike called to talk about their next move. He stepped onto the first center block, but he immediately lost his footing. He tumbled to the right, hit his trailer, then fell to the ground, landing on his ass. Buddy Lee rolled over onto his knees. As he tried to push himself up, all the air in his lungs evaporated. In its place, a wad of phlegm the size of a lemon filled his chest. Buddy Lee's eyes bulged from their sockets as he tried to get enough breath in his lungs to cough. Strong hands pounded against his back. The sharp strikes forced the ball of phlegm out of his throat. It spilled across the ground and splashed like a squashed toad. Buddy Lee felt himself being pulled to his feet. "You all right?" Buddy Lee nodded to the savior. A slim, narrow-hipped woman with sharp, rough-hewn features held his left arm like an iron grip. Her skin shined with deep burnished tan, born of hours under the hot sun. 2 long black pigtails, intersped with snow-white strands, trailed down over her chest and almost fell to her waist. "You're a terrible liar, Buddy Lee," she said. "Just lost my footing for a minute, Margot. No need to get your panties in a bunch," Buddy Lee said. Margot let him go and wiped her hands on her jeans. Her white tank top had dark splotches covering it like it was a piece of modern art. "I stopped wearing panties when Herb died. That was my second husband. He was a good man, but Lord, he was so uptight. He squeaked when he walked," Margot said. "Husband number 3 didn't mind you going commando," Buddy Lee asked with a wink. "Colton? Lord, no. That man would have banged the crack of dawn if it would have stood still long enough. I wasn't shocked when he died on top of a woman. I was just always thought it would be me," Margot said. Buddy Lee chuckled. "I did too, Buddy Lee." The chuckle became a laugh. The laugh became a cough. Margot patted him on his back. It was a strangely intimate gesture, and Buddy Lee found it comforting more than he cared to admit. Finally, his cough subsided. "You know, we've been neighbors 5 years now. When I first came around here, you had Sam Ellington thing going on. Now you look like Sam Ellington's granddad. Gee, thanks, Margot. Maybe I should get a dog so you can kick it." I know that's right. "She gonna kick me down? Should I get a dog? You kick my dog too?" Buddy Lee said, and Margot shook her head a few times. "That's not an insult. It's an observation. You drink too much, and you don't eat enough. You look like you get an hour of sleep every couple of weeks. You need to get that cough checked out. Those are just facts. My first, he had a cough he wouldn't check out. Then he checked out," Margot said. Buddy Lee wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "The world isn't spinning, but it's doing a little soft shoe." The bourbon and the beer were having a bar fight in his guts, and his stomach was threatening to kick them both out. The last thing he needed to do was throw up in front of this well-meaning but nosy neighbor. It would probably be more red than brown, and that would just be an invite to lots of questions he wasn't in the kind of mood to answer. "I told you I'm fine, Margot. Just been a long week. Hell, it's been a long year," Buddy Lee said. Margot's face softened a little bit. "I know. I'm sorry about your boy. I've buried 4 husbands, but I don't know what I'd do if I had to see one of my girls go on the ground. It should be against the law for parents to see that shit," she said. Buddy Lee felt his eyes moisten without any warning. Yeah, it should." Well, I'm going to go inside and go into a coma, Buddy Lee said. All right, but if you need anything, just holler. I'm out back in the garden. Didn't Arlie tell you to dig that garden up? Buddy Lee asked with a wink. Margot's lip curled up at the corner. Yeah, and I told him if I had to dig up my tomato garden, I might be so depressed I might let it slip that I seen him sneak into that Carson girl's trailer while his wife was at work at the nursing home. Buddy Lee whistled. You drive a hard bargain, don't you? Hey, he shouldn't be dipping his wick in that girl's wax. He ought to be glad I caught him instead of his wife or that Carson girl's boyfriend. I can't for the life of me figure out how she can stand the smell of him, Buddy Lee laughed. Me neither. Well, like I said, I'm going to get some sleep. Buddy Lee stepped up onto the center block and grabbed his doorknob. I'm making spaghetti tonight. Going to use my big beef tomatoes for the sauce. You more than welcome to come over and get a plate, Margot said. You're not going to poison me like you did your husband, are you? Buddy Lee asked. Margot rolled her eyes. You're an ass, you know that? That seems to have been the general consensus most of my life, Buddy Lee said. Margot grunted. The sauce probably ready around 7. I know you miss your boy, but you gotta eat. He wouldn't want you going to seed, Marco said. She strolled back across the driveway and disappeared around her trailer. Buddy Lee stared after her for a few minutes. Margot wasn't a bad-looking woman. He pegged her at 50 or 55, a few years older than him, but she was in way better shape. She worked down at the Lowe's as lawn and garden specialist. For most of 5 years they'd been neighbors. She had what she termed a friend with benefits who sometimes spent a night. Buddy Lee had seen him through his kitchen window a few times. Big old hoss with a crew cut who drove an old Jeep Wagoneer with faded Mitt Romney for president bumper sticker. Crew cut hadn't been around much these few months. He wondered if he had anything to do with Margot inviting him over for dinner. Get your head out your ass. She was just being nice, that's all. That's all you gonna get nowadays, Buddy Lee murmured. He went inside his trailer and kicked off his boots before peeling off his shirt. The AC sounded like someone had tossed it in the washing machine. It clanged and wheezed asthmatically, but at least it seemed to actually be working today. The cool air made goose flesh pop up. That's interesting. I've never seen it called goose flesh. Pop up all across his back and chest. Buddy Lee's eyes had just closed as he sprawled across his couch when someone began pounding on his door. He groaned as he sat up and his feet hit the floor. Damn it, Margot. I said I'm fine, he mumbled as he opened the door. Detective LaPlata was standing on his bottom center block. He was alone except for his shield and his gun. Mr. Jenkins, we need to talk, he said. He didn't ask if he could come in, but instead just stepped into the trailer. Buddy Lee took a step back. LaPlata was giving him the long stare. Buddy Lee knew what that meant. He had fucked up, and LaPlata wasn't fucking around. I know that's right. All right, family, we'll stop there. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Oh, man, I ain't even mean to do that. And hope you catch us next Tuesday. Tuesday, we probably will be finishing Finding the Blessings, because this Tuesday, which I'm so happy about, we wound up doing an energy reading, which was great. I enjoyed that. If you haven't seen it, go check out Tuesday's show, and then you can get an idea of what energy readings I kind of like. But outside of that, the book, I'm enjoying it. I hope you are too. But again, family, I hope you have a great weekend. Hope to see you here Tuesday. If I don't see you Tuesday, I hope I make it back Thursday for another episode of Book Club. I appreciate you, family. And gratitude. Peace.